Welcome to Elevate with Elsner. Join us for inspiring conversations with individuals who have transformed their lives and are making a difference through the work that they do. And now, here's your host, Blake Elsner.
Welcome to another episode of Elevate with Elsner. I'm your host, Blake Elsner, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Thrilled to welcome Bryan Niedbalski to the show. Bryan grew up in St. Louis, played baseball at the University of Iowa. Right after college, he jumped right into the coaching career, and at one point became the youngest Division I active college baseball coach. Now he's the current recruiting coordinator for the entire baseball program at the University of West Georgia. On top of his impressive career, Bryan has been married for 8 years and is a proud father to a 1.5-year-old. Bryan, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. When you asked me around 9 o'clock on Saturday night, I didn't think I was going to want to do it after being at the field till 1 to 2 a.m. all weekend, but happy to be here.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you could join us. As some people don't know, we've known each other since we were little kids playing baseball, but going forward, asking you questions about passion and impact, about your job and what you do. Give everybody kind of a quick little rundown, starting at the University of Iowa where you were a D1 athlete and then go from there.
Yeah, so I think my passion started. I had a really good freshman year at Iowa. My last 3 years I was hurt, so I was on the bench a lot. I was basically coaching more than I was playing, and I was like, man, I feel like I could do this someday. And I've had 3 years of experience by not playing very much. And just the more I talked to the guys on the staff there, they're like, yeah, you should do it. Just know there's not a lot of money right away. I was like, all right, well, I'll grind through it and see where we're at in a few years. And I was lucky I went to Maryville, then Lindenwood, and now I'm at West Georgia. And you got to catch some breaks along the way too. And I did that, but you just got to keep your nose to the ground and keep working.
When you got hurt at the University of Iowa, those last 3 years, how did you stay passionate about baseball as you're sitting there hurt, watching, some of your best friends and teammates continue to play? Yeah,
I mean, it sucks getting hurt, but every athlete goes through that. And it was funny because I'd have guys on the team ask me to throw them BP or look at their swings. And I feel like I had a good niche at it right away and they trusted me. So like I said, I was doing more coaching than I was playing for 3 years. And I mean, it was fun. And once you see guys make adjustments and you're like, oh, that clicks, that feels better. Like, I was like, all right, this is fun. It's cool to see you guys get better and develop. So that's kind of where I got my calling right away.
Yeah, that's pretty neat right there. Since, technically some would say, yeah, you've been coaching, since your sophomore year of college. If, you're watching video and doing stuff that, these players that they couldn't do because they're playing. So having almost another player coach or player that's injured is basically a coach. So having that, that impact on at that age level, clearly you did find your niche and then you went ahead and started that coaching career. So what did that start with?
So, yeah, I mean, basically once I graduated, I just shot a bunch of emails out to colleges in the St. Louis area because I knew I wasn't home very much for 4 years being an athlete. You'd stay there for Thanksgiving, come home for Christmas, and go play your season, then go to summer ball, then school starts over. So it was like never ending. So it was like, all right, I want to be close to home for a year, and then we'll see where this thing takes us. Then, like I said, I hopped on Maryville, and we had some success there. And, I mean, it's crazy when you just look at the journey because like I said, money's not the answer to everything. And like for me, I was coaching all morning, all afternoon, then going to do lessons from 5 to 10 at night. Then you wake up, go to morning lifting as a coach and do it all over, and then go to lessons. Like it's a battle for a young coach to get into it. But like I said, if you just work, you'll eventually get lucky and catch a break to go on to somewhere else.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always noticed that, you've pursued a passion that obviously, like you said, you knew in the beginning, the reward isn't necessarily going to be there because that's just the industry. In most industries, when you obviously start off, you don't really reap tons of benefits in the beginning until you put the work in. And but yeah, obviously you had a long road. It's a saturated saturated industry, the coaching industry. So yeah, to actually stand out, what'd you do in order to stand out to keep going?
I mean, for me, it was recruiting. Like, you go to any field and a coach from a different school would see me and be like, man, you're everywhere. I'm like, yeah, like the name of the game is to find good players to make you look like a good coach. Let's be honest. It's just, for me, it was the more recruiting I could do and get out there all day, every day, and go find players and meet people through networking while you're sitting at a baseball field for, it feels like 20 hours a day at sometimes, but you're in there in cold days, hot days, just grinding it out and looking for players and looking for the right players, and you meet people along the way.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So at one point, tell us, because this is a pretty cool fact that at one point, I know it wasn't very long lived, but at one point you were the youngest active Division I baseball coach at a point, right?
Yeah, so it was Division II, and I was 23. I think 23 years old, 24, and it just, something changed, and was able to do it for a year, and it was great. Was I ready? Absolutely not. But was it cool to do it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty cool, especially at that age, to be able to take over the reins, even though it was probably under different circumstances, probably not circumstances that are obviously great, because anytime you take over a head coach job, that usually doesn't come with some type of positive news on the other side. So yeah, that's real awesome. But now obviously you kind of found your hat, and that was the recruiting side of things. So in a way, obviously that is a coach, because you're coaching kids all the time. But on the recruiting side, what qualities and skills do you look for in recruits that would fit the Western Georgia University baseball program?
Yeah. So for me, you got to be a good human first and foremost, because as coaches, you have enough stuff going on in your life, in your personal life. You don't want to deal with headaches from some kid being an idiot off the field. Let's just call it as it is. And then for us, for me, I like dudes who love to play the game. A lot of guys play, but you don't know if they love it or not. So you can tell if you watch a kid, this kid loves to be out there, whether they're playing a double or triple header in a travel ball game. He loves being out there. So I think that's a huge part of it as well. Academically, again, you don't want to have to worry about, hey, is this kid going to make it at the end of the semester, or is he even get into school? You don't want to deal with that stuff. So, low maintenance kids who love to play baseball. Then the weight room is something we value a lot. We like physical kids who want to be in the weight room and want to work out, because some kids see oh, we have morning lifting. Why do we have to do that? If you're a guy who wants to play pro ball, you can't wait to get up at 7 a.m. and go lift and go to practice and go to study hall. We're looking for the kid who wants to do it, wants to be a top-notch student athlete who really wants to take their career as far as they can go.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's being passionate and wanting to make an impact in what you do. And I think having your story of what you did and kind of how you stayed passionate about baseball is an awesome kind of relatable story that you can tell these, younger kids that are in, that are maybe not even, they're just riding the bench and they're not playing, or, because of there's a kid playing in front of them, etc. So yeah, to keep that going, and to keep them motivated, whether they're not injured, how do you do that?
Well, first off, baseball is failure. 3 out of 10, you're in the Hall of Fame. So you're going to have to learn how to fail. And especially the way baseball is kind of blown up, there is an avenue for someone, no matter what they're doing in the game of baseball, whether it's data analytics, being a student manager. There's so many different ways you can help a team or help a school. And then I think once you get your foot in the door, like I said, there's so many different ways you can go and what you want to do if you want to stay in the game of baseball. So I think motivation, a lot of it has to be internal. You have to want to be special and do something. But for in our career field, there's so many routes you can go if you don't bail and don't give up.
Yeah, that is pretty cool with all the, analytics. Nowadays, you see some of these game plan coaches. And,
scouting reports, advanced scouting. There's so many different avenues you can go.
Yeah, wow. Just coaches that are watching videos, and I guess arms that are going to be coming out of the bullpen, and I guess getting that extra intel on what your hitters might face coming out. So in terms of what going to like scholarship and financial aid, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, Coach Niedbalski, I know you're a big coordinator at the University of West Georgia and whatnot, and they say, hey, how do we go about wanting a scholarship or whatnot? What do you usually say to that?
Be really good at baseball. If you want a baseball scholarship to start, those aren't just handed out to everybody. And then for us, like, we're lucky because we actually get in-state tuition to Georgia, obviously, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. So for us, we really hammer kind of the bordering states as far as getting in-state tuition, because obviously baseball, we have 9 scholarships right now. So we're not even at the full 11.7 worth of scholarships right now. So like, we have to get kids who have good academics who are from the bordering states. Obviously, if you got Nolan Ryan sitting in Missouri, like, we'll do our best to come offer him and pay a little bit extra out of pocket to get him here. But for us, we try to hammer those bordering states as much as we can to save the dollars.
Yeah, and I got to imagine just now, since you, as a program, just shifted into the Division I, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, starting this September. So you're in Division I. Now you're competing with, some of these states that you're mentioning. You got some serious talent, but then you also have some serious competition in terms of, schooling and programs. So you got to sell West Georgia, right? So you got to sell that program if you want to get some of these, top kids that might have a chance to go to some of these other schools that have a bigger gym or have a bigger training facility. Is that going to be more pushing a culture, or what? How do you combat that? Yeah, well, I think any kid they want the great facilities. Like, that's the world we're in. They want to see the facilities. They want to look cool on Twitter. But like, what I tell a lot of kids, like, you have to trust them like the coaches. Like, if you're just going for the glitz and the glamour, like, I tell kids, you're coming here to the wrong spot. Like, you're coming from the culture, you're coming for the people, the coaches who are going to take care of you every day. And like, I tell a kid, like, say your career ended and you can't play anymore, would you still be happy here being around us every day? And that's what I try to sell to kids, because I mean, it could happen. I mean, you can get TJ, never throw again, or tear your labrum. Like, would you still be happy going to school here, being around the program, even if you weren't playing? So yeah, you need the facilities, you need all that stuff, but like, are you going to be happy with this coaching staff at this school, even if you can't play?
That's a very, that's an interesting perspective that I feel like I haven't heard. And to hear that is, that's powerful, because it's like, yeah, if you get hurt like yourself, obviously at Iowa, when you got hurt, you were still passionate about doing something, still making an impact that, you found yourself still enjoying Iowa and still being around the team and doing all that stuff.
Yeah,
clearly,
I love the coaches. I love my teammates. So like, it was easy for me to stay. Like, I could have went and got surgery and probably went and played somewhere else, but I was happy there and I was totally invested in the program and the people. So it made it super easy for me. And they knew I was committed and all in on them as well. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, that's right. We always, that's one thing I'm big on is, you invest in me and I'll invest in you. And that's kind of somewhat of a a tough rope to walk, but it sounds a little, greedy-ish, but it's just one of those things that, hey, like, you put in the work, I put in the work, we'll both, both meet each other at the top kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to help me, pull me up, I'll help pull you up. But so, yeah, what's your like philosophy on like, you tell a freshman that comes in and, they're gung ho on their high school team, and they, you're going to tell them like, hey, you might not get all the playing time that you did as a senior in high school with these. Now you're in a whole new bracket of, talent. So what's that talk like?
Well, especially right now in the college baseball game, because the COVID year stuff is still going on for some guys who have an extra year. So a freshman, you're 18, you're competing against a 24-year-old grown man. Like, you better you better fall in love with that weight room quick, because like you need to turn your body into a 21, 23, 24-year-old pretty quick if you're going to be on the field every day. Obviously, if you have intangibles that like your bad speed, you throw 94, like that's going to obviously help you get your foot in the door on the field as a freshman. But like, you better be physical. You better be able to have time management's huge for freshmen. I think when guys come here, that's where they struggle most. It's their first time away from home, away from mom and dad. Like you have class and practice, but after that, you have all this freedom. Whereas elite athletes know exactly what they're doing of every minute, every day mapped out. So yeah, freshmen, I think just knowing who they are and being where their feet are, no matter what they're doing at that time, that's actually going to help them get on the field and not have so much outside stuff creeping into their life where they're getting distracted from, all right, yeah, I shouldn't order this pizza at midnight. Like I should have a protein bar instead. Like there's just a lot of stuff as freshmen where it takes them by storm. So freshman year is very tough, very tough.
Yeah, that as we all know, is, if you've been there and you've been a freshman before, and yeah, it is tough to, there's a transition and whatnot. So yeah, that's good that you can be a part of, having an impact on their transition as freshmen, and then, hoping that they continue on and, see the field. But when you kind of tell some kid about the culture, like I kind of understand obviously academics and et cetera and whatnot, but from a standpoint of, being, I would say I don't want to say a man for others, but just a person that, obviously takes care of their own needs, but also puts the team, in up front. How do you guys talk about, that culture and putting the team first?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, our job as coaches, it's a bottom line business. Like it's wins and losses. So, I mean, as a hitting coach, you look for the right 9 guys who are going to help you win. Like Billy might be better than Johnny, but I mean, Johnny's helping us win right now. Like he's moving runners. He's having more quality at bats. So at the end of the day, it's hard, but like who are the right 9 on that given day or in that situation to help you win? And obviously you get guys who like, oh, why aren't I playing? Well, your quality at bats are low, or you're not doing this. Like this helps us win. He starts helping you win, then your name gets in the lineup more. I mean, it's a bottom line business.
Yeah. And so from a recruiting standpoint, do you ever see like you go, wow, X, made it on the field, and, you thought when you recruited Y that he was going to be on the field a lot more. Do you ever see that type of work?
It happens all the time. Like, I mean, I'll tell you right now, our left fielder's 5'6". Nobody else wanted him, but every time I'd go watch him play, he'd be on base 4 times. I'm like, man, there's like, I can't go to watch this team play without this kid getting on base a ton. And I mean, like I said, undersized, not a lot. Like you just look at him, you're like, yeah, I'm never taking that kid. But like you watch him play, and he's a true gamer. Like he finds ways to help you win. So that stuff always happens, and it's fun to watch that happen. Because some guys who have more talent they don't want to work as hard, and their spot gets taken by the end of the fall.
Yeah, see, that's the type of stuff that you see and hear. Like the kids coming out of high school that think they led, their conference in every statistic, every category. And then all of a sudden, you got another kid putting in a lot more work. And next thing you know, he's even keel with, the guy that was leading the conference and all the stats in high school. That's got to be pretty cool to see. But at the same time, how do you then keep that other kid from going, hey, you got to put your feet back on the ground and realize you got to put in the work?
Yeah. Well, one thing we do here is we recruit a lot of junior college kids. They're mostly 21 to 23. They've played JUCO baseball for 2 years. So they have dirt on their cleats. Like they've been through it. It's been tough. So like a lot of the guys we get, they've played college baseball at the junior college level or the transfer portal. And that's one thing, like we like the older kids because they're mature. Like I don't have to babysit them. They know usually why they are not playing or why they are playing. They have to keep doing that. So we do like older kids. But for young guys, it's like, all right, you need to, like Johnny, you need to watch Billy. Look how he goes every day. He's here 2 hours before practice hitting. Like the days of just rolling it out and let's go practice and call it a day. Like that won't get you very far. Like it has to be an internal drive to want to be great. And that's showing up every single day and on your off days.
Yeah, that's true. And
Some
obviously
good leadership from older guys too, as well.
Yeah. And that's what that definitely starts from the top down. And, from you're at the very, very top, recruiting individuals, basically first impression in some way. So in terms of like the facility and resources, how do you talk about like, hey, we got pretty cool facilities, we got state of the art equipment, which I'm sure you do as a Division I baseball program. You're going to have the necessary equipment. It might not, have a diamond on it, but it's going to get the job done. So how do you, take away the bling and say, hey, this is the same thing without the bling, and you're going to get more playing time?
Yeah, so like our facilities are great. Our weight room's off the charts. Our academic support team's awesome. They help us tremendously. Like we don't have an indoor facility right now. We don't as a Division I. A lot of teams do. We don't. A lot of that, obviously the weather, it's warmer down here, so you don't need a true indoor like some schools up north. But like like I tell recruits, if you need the nicest locker room, the nicest hitting area, like right now, it's not the place for you. But if you want guys who you're going to trust to make you better and be surrounded by good players, like that's what's here. I've never seen a great locker room make a team win a championship. It all comes down to your culture, how much buy-in you get from your offense approach, obviously pitching, defense. Like that stuff matters more than the facilities. Don't get me wrong. Like, do we want what Vanderbilt and Tennessee have? Yeah, every coach in the country does. But we don't have it, so we don't even talk about it or worry about it. All we can do is control how hard we work and what we want to do with it. So, like I said, we don't have the best stuff. We don't try to hide it. We're coming here because we have to outwork people here. It's the bottom line.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, perspective. You guys, you obviously lay it out. You say, hey, we got nothing to hide. Here's our program. Here's what we expect. You want to be a part of it. You can be a part of it. If you don't, no issue on our end. So I think that also leaves obviously then people to make kids to make a decision like, hey, these guys actually are passionate. They actually will help me if if baseball doesn't happen to work out, that they will still be there for me to help me onto that next level or help me to be passionate about my niche, like kind of like you at Iowa. So yeah, that's pretty.
We had a center fielder. He can't play this year. He got hurt, and like basically he thought he's like, I'm done. Like I'm just gonna have to go to school. And first thing I said is, do you want to be a manager? He said, yeah. So he's staying on. Like he has 1 year left. He'll get his degree here, and he'll be with me every day, help me out, which is awesome. Like he just thought like, oh, he's gonna be done, and that was the end of his story. But like he has a year to help us out in a different way, and he'll still be around all his friends every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And he got to play, and the the biggest thing is you go, hey, you came here to get a degree, and that's what you're gonna
finish it out.
That's what you're gonna walk out with, and here's a little coaching experience, and now hey, you got options, and that's the best part. So that's real cool. So as we kind of wrap this up, what would you say is probably your most impactful moment as a coach or as a recruiting coordinator? Obviously being a head coach was probably pretty cool, but anything other than that where it kind of stood out to you, or a comment or something where you were traveling that just kind of stuck with you, or a quote or anything?
So I got a story, actually. It was 2 years ago. Our shortstop, his dad passed away right before opening day, like 3 days before opening day. Obviously, he goes home to the funeral, all that stuff. And he showed up the day of one of our games. I think it was our fourth game of the year. Like, we didn't know he was going to be there. He showed up like 4 hours before game time. I was like, I'm playing. I was like, all right. He's like, will you just hit with me? I'm like, yeah, we'll take some early hacks, and then you'll go play short if you want to, because I want to play. And I kid you not, first swing he took after his dad passed away, he hit a home run to lead off the game. And like, when he was rounding like the round of the bases, like I've never gotten choked up on a field, but I was like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. So that one will always stick with me. I'm like, that's why you do it. Like that kid just went through the hardest thing a human can do, losing his father. And then he comes out and hits a home run first pitch. I'm like, you can't make that up. So as long as I'm alive, I'll always remember that on a baseball field.
that's special right there. That, you know, I can't imagine that. Both of our fathers are still alive, but yeah, I can't imagine, you know, losing a father and then coming out the next day and being able to smile like
very first swing, like just for 3 seconds rounding the bases, he probably forgot what was going on in life. I think that's the beauty of the game. Like, you get to escape reality for 3 to 4 hours while you're playing, and then obviously when it's done, you snap back to reality, check your phone, and everything comes back with you. But for 9 innings, you don't really worry about anything else going on in the world.
Yeah, that is an escape and a way to an outlet that, like I said, you know, most kids, we donate to St. Louis Youth Sports Outreach, and that is just a fulfilling thing, because having kids the opportunity to play sports and make an impact in the world and be coachable, because obviously, as you know, it's one of the key ingredients to anything is being coachable and being open-minded. So yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here and, you know, talking to us about your, role at the University of West Georgia and the, you know, recruiting and the impact you make. Any final words you want to say?
No, I mean, just find your passion, stay with it. My first job, I was making $2,000. So, I mean, it wasn't great, but I knew what I wanted to do. So, like I said, just keep your nose down and work. I mean, you got to outwork people if you're going to catch a break. The world doesn't care about your feelings, doesn't care how you're feeling. The world's going to keep going, so you can't feel sorry for yourself.
That's right. And money doesn't bring happiness, just as you found out. And
I don't have a job. I tell people that all the time. Like, I go and coach baseball, I go and watch baseball and recruit kids. Like, I don't really consider this a job. I consider myself lucky. Like, I'm not clocking in a 9 to 5 and calling it a day, waiting for Friday. Like, I'm here 7 days a week. I don't feel like it's work.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Bryan, and Coach Bryan, Recruiting Bryan, whatever you want to call him. I'm sure they got nicknames for you in the locker room.
I just go by Bryan. I don't make guys call me Coach. A lot of people think that's crazy.
Wow, there's an interesting fact.
I feel like we're on the same team. Like, I don't really have a hierarchy. Like, I don't call you Player Blake or Player Elsner. Like, I call you by your name. We're all in this together. Like, I don't feel the need for a hierarchy or a special title. That's just how I am.
That's passion right there. Passion and impact. He says he's picking you up while you pick him up, and we're going to see each other at the top together and bring home a championship for that West Georgia baseball squad, right?
That's the goal. I want a dog pile. I want to be at the top of the dog pile, though. I'm not trying to be on the bottom.
Dog pile. Well, I love it. I appreciate you coming on here, and as always, let's elevate together.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get updates as new episodes become available. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review and tell your friends about the show. Until next time,